Hey, what's going on YouTube? Marine X back at it again. Fixed blade knives. A lot of us want to EDC them. They want to learn how to EDC them. And then it's a thing that is doable. But let's just talk about some of my favorite fixed blade knives that I EDC. Why did they get put into the rotation? How do they get used? And how to make the best choice for yourself when it's time to EDC a fixed blade. Now, first off, why would you want to EDC a fixed blade knife? There are differences between having like a folding knife, something like this, like the Benchmade bailout that I have here. Of course, Benchmade bailout, a great knife to be able to have, but there's just certain things you really can't do with most folding knives. Not all, but most. A lot of them can't take a lot of wax to the spine. The lockups, they have lockups, right? They're not full tang. Full tang meaning the blade starts here and goes through all the way throughout the scales. That would be the definition of a full tang knife. There's just some things that they can't take. So if you want to use things for starting a fire, sometimes the lockup's not strong enough to use the spine of this to start a fire, you know, or striking the back of it for whittling, woodworking, bushcraft. Even for a defense knife, sometimes a folding knife is just not best. And then sometimes just aesthetics wise, some people like to carry a fixed blade more than a folder. So there's a number of reasons why you might want to do it, but you want to make sure that you have the quote unquote right folder, fixed blade knife for yourself when it comes to EDC. Now, these are some examples of smaller fixed blade knives that I don't particularly enjoy using as an EDC knife. These are best used as either just a straight up pocket knife, like just letting them free ball inside of your pocket, or a neck knife. I don't like wearing neck knives. And then just having a knife in my pocket is not really conducive for one-hand use, meaning getting this out of its Kydex sheath one-handed is hard to do without cutting yourself or cutting your pocket or doing some crazy stuff. Although this is, you know, really great knives. This is the Boker scalpel knife. I still like to use this primarily for opening up mail inside my truck and stuff like that. In the Top Knives Ferret, nice little knife to EDC every now and again inside of a pouch. If you don't want to have if you don't necessarily want to have a knife in your pocket, they're great. So that's something else I would, just me personally, I don't recommend. Next is whatever you decide to do, make sure the sheath is good. This sheath is not really good when it comes to this Kaiser Justice. Kaiser sheaths just in general aren't the best. I mean, I could really work this out. The issue is they tried to make this sheath ambidextrous so that you can swap the knife and it can go in either way. They didn't do a great job of that. This has a lot of points on it. So if you want to put paracord, if you want to put actual clamps, Alti clips or all that, plenty of different points on here, but it just doesn't feel like they made this sheath for this knife. So whatever you do, read the reviews. There's not a real reason why I should just be able to barely touch this and barely come out the sheath. So I caution you for that. You can also think about stuff like blade steel and stuff like that. I don't necessarily concern myself too much with that when it comes to EDCing a knife, because they all have their different use cases and stuff like that. Now, some knives that I would say that could be a part of your everyday carry, you know, it's really going to be up to you, but I'm going to talk about different ways to carry them in different sizes. So of course you can carry a fixed blade with a more traditional clip that goes on the Kydex sheath, leather sheath, whatever, polymer, whatever the sheath may be made out of. This is very easy to understand. You take this, you clip it to your belt, your pants, the inside of your pocket, and it holds it pretty good. There are clips that are stronger, but this would work. And this can be swapped to either side. So if you want to carry this different ways, it can be done. So that's something that is beneficial. This is the SC number 4. So I probably wouldn't, this is just a really big knife to EDC. If you wanted to ED something this big, you could, but I just necessarily would not recommend it. But this is an option for you when it comes to this clip, because the only thing about this specific clip is that it's hard to turn this around to carry it horizontally. It could be, but I think it's going to hang over a little bit because this does follow the shape of the sheath a little bit. But that might be something that you may want to consider. Next, you do kind of have like these multi-use type of sheaths. So this one here is a sheath that is made by Gerber. And this one I like a lot, mainly because of the fact that it's easy to just slip your belt through the back of this sheath. So you get your belt, you run it through there, and you can wear this thing horizontally on your belt. So that makes life a lot easier. This is the new Gerber. This is the Stakeout. I think this is the Stakeout Camp, if I'm not mistaken. I'll put it on the screen to make sure I don't get it wrong. So I'm thinking about making this my new camping knife. There's a few things I don't like about it. It's hard to strike with a ferro rod and actually get a spark with this. Like it's it can be done, but it's not as easy as its older, bigger brother, where so the back is not exactly at a 90 degree, which makes it a little bit harder for ferro rod usage. Although I like the grip, there's some things about it that it's just almost a little bit too big for me when it comes to everyday carry. But the way that they did this polymer sheath is actually really good, and it comes with additional straps. So if you want to wear this on a plate carrier, or if you want to wear this on molly webbing, they give you a lot of different options. And this is less than $100. I think it's $90. I think it should be cheaper than that, but this is still a lot of different options. When we think about everyday carry, we think about the Bradford Guardians. We are thinking about, the smaller Gerber knives, some stuff from Benchmade. But one of the first things that comes to mind for me, particularly even like Ox Manufacturing, but one of the first things that come to mind particularly for me is anything from Montana Knife Company. I think they make some great products. They make some great stuff. And so we'll talk about the thing that I've liked the most about whenever I everyday carry them. So they have these sheaths with this little run through for your belt right here. And what I like about it is that you can easily swap this around. So I have this thing set up going different ways, kind of show you what this would look like depending on how you want to do it. So this is great. So if you want to carry this horizontally on your belt, there you go. That's kind of how this would look if you run it through your belt. I prefer to carry this thing more or not vertical. That's how it looks vertically on your belt. I like to wear it horizontally. So it runs through the belt like this, and then you can pull it out and use the knife really, really easily. So here I have the Speed Goat and we have the Blackfoot. So very, very similar knives, obviously different scale options here. Both of them great for everyday carry. Magna Cut blade steel, just fantastic. I'm a big fan of these. If I was everyday carrying something all the time, it would probably be the Speed Goat 2.0. Mainly because the scales have that paracord. It's a little bit smaller footprint, a little bit less printing. Sometimes you don't want somebody to know that you're carrying a knife. So I think that the Speed Coat 2.0 lends itself better for having less printing when it comes to a knife. But it's going to be really whatever one is up to you. But I will say my favorite way to EDC a fixed blade knife is the Auti clip. And the Auti clip can be modified and it can be used on, there's different versions of the Auti clip. It's extremely strong. It's less likely this thing will come off of your belt or your pocket. Or I like to, when I use Auti clip like this, I actually wear this on the inside of my pants or my trousers. So the knife is basically, the Kydex sheath is touching my skin, and then I can pull the actual knife out and use it as I see fit. Auti clip, super strong, hard to get this thing on and off. I mean, you can use your nail or your finger, but it's such a incredibly strong clip. I just use a pry bar or a slotted screwdriver or something like that just to disengage the clip. But once you get this bad boy on, it is on. All right, so just as an example, really, really flimsy, piece of material when it comes to a hank. But if I were to take the Auti clip and kind of cinch it down here, it grabs on extremely strong. So it doesn't really matter what fabric you're wearing. You're wearing board shorts. It's going to, it's not going anywhere. It's extremely strong material. The Auti clip is like God tier. I'm a big fan of it. So like if you decide that you're going to be dedicated to carrying a fixed blade knife, I would say number one would be Auti clip for me. American made product, so I think it's a really good product itself. Or something like this where you can run the actual belt or whatever through this product and carry this thing horizontally. So this is set up right now for me to do a vertical carry, basically appendix carry vertical, or if I have really deep pockets, you can carry that as well. Oh, as to mention, this specific knife is the new Montana Knife Company War Goat. And I've actually been a big fan of this thing. They just announced this a couple of days ago. Full review incoming. Look at this full tang goodness that they have here. This is Montana Knife Company's first venture into the tactical realm. This is MKC, coming themselves to MKC Tactical. This does give me I like this a lot. I like the fact it's the Magna Cut, But when you get this out your pocket, you have the ability to basically put a finger or something back here and use this as a tactical way. I could see getting authorization if I were still in the Marines to see if I could possibly carry this with me, a part of my kit. They do offer waivers like that when you're active duty to be able to carry items that you weren't issued. You know, my advice to Montana knife companies, I used to write contracts in the Marine Corps. I will compete to be put into a military base via Granger freight, because most military bases have a Granger freight on them. And if you can make it into a Granger freight, then your items can be issued to troops. So that's how I got the Gerber Fast Tanto Auto. That's how I got my SOG multi-tools. If you win those contracts, that's how you get in there. And those are winnable contracts. Holler at me, Montana Knife Company, if you want advice on, how to just win those type of contracts, because that's how you get access to the troops, is you're competing for those major contracts, getting into the Granger freights, getting into the SIF facilities where they're issuing gear directly to troops and all of that good stuff. But this is just kind of my idea when it comes to fixed blade knives, how to EDC those. Not necessarily my favorites, but whatever you look for, make sure it's the size for you. I generally try to keep mine under 7 inches, which is kind of where these Montana knife companies are, about a little bit more to 3 inches of blade for actual slicing. And I like to normally have something that has a lot of mounting options, unlike these little neck knives. So, but give me your advice. What do you like when it comes to a fixed blade? Would you ever carry a fixed blade? Do you already carry one? Which one should I think about picking up next? I would love to know with your comments down below. First time stopping by, thank you once again for watching me, coming by, having a good time. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.